Welcome back to the channel, everyone. My name is Alexander Howell, and today what I want to talk about is kind of the same, kind of different than what we normally talk about on this channel, where we talk about travel and real estate and investing in real estate, whether it be in your own country or internationally. Like, for instance, the screen behind me is of my favorite place to talk about, Merida, Mexico, and I get lots of questions from you guys in the comment section down below, in email form and text form, and a lot of them have to do with why Merida, why did you choose this place, how did you find it, what's it like? But there are also questions that have to do with, should I invest in Merida or not? And we have answered some of those questions on this channel and on several different videos. But with everything going on in the world, I thought, let's just take a breather, have a little conversation, talk about a few things that are going on, some things that are a little worrisome when you think about what might be impacting whether you should invest now or wait and see how the world goes, and all that kind of stuff. So that's what this video is going to be about. The world as it is right now and how that might affect real estate in Merida, Mexico, as well as everywhere else in the world. Let's roll the intro. And guys, if you do like this video, please feel free to like and subscribe to the channel. Hit that notification bell. That's going to let you know anytime that one of these videos does drop. And you can always feel free to visit my Instagram if you want to see some of the updates of the awesome house that we're building. That's at Alexander from KC. It's basically my kids, my wife, and I hanging out, and then pictures of Mexico. So there you go. Now, the first thing that I want to tell you is I am not Chicken Little. I don't think the sky is falling. I don't think that everything is going terribly. Now, there's a bad situation on the other side of the world, and I feel for the people that are involved in that. But as far as the overall investment community is concerned, a lot of what you're hearing right now is fuel prices going up, inflation, and some people are not as familiar with how that might affect other markets. Now, I'm not going to claim to be an expert at it. My degree was in personal financial planning. I was a wealth advisor for several years before I went out of that and started investing in real estate on my own. But the ideas and concepts behind it are not something that's so completely foreign to me. And so when I started seeing questions that were transforming from Merida seems like an awesome place, tell me all about it, to is this right now a wise time to invest, my number one thing was I got to get on this channel, make a video about it, and basically say, one, I'm not your attorney, I'm not your financial advisor, I'm not your accountant, I'm not in that world anymore. So I would absolutely say, if you have questions like this that are more in depth than what you're going to hear today, make sure you send this to them and say, is this guy right, is this guy wrong, and how does this work with my own portfolio? Because what works for me and my family is not going to be what works for you, and even if they're similar, they're only similar, and there may be some nuance in there that you might want to check out. Now, I've already told you a little bit about myself and my degree and all that kind of stuff, but my name is Alexander Howell. My family and I invested in a home in Merida, Mexico about 2 years ago. Thanks to COVID and everything else, it did get kind of delayed, but it is just on the very final stages of being done, and we cannot wait to be down there. But we've been talking about investing in a home in Mexico for basically since my wife and I met each other, so about 13 years now. And we originally thought that we'd be on Isla Mujeres outside of Cancun. Prices there jumped significantly in the time that we had been looking, but we took a sabbatical to Merida, Mexico, actually the beach just north of Merida, Mexico, as it's an inland colonial city, and we ended up falling so in love with the actual city that we bought a place on our first trip there, and since then it has just been an adventure, a very fun adventure, kind of getting that place built out and seeing all of the ways that we have just fallen more and more in love with the city every time that we travel there, and every time that we see and hear people talk about exactly why they're doing the exact same thing. So to start a little bit from the beginning about Merida, Mexico, it's the second safest city in North America. It is on the Yucatan Peninsula, just about 3.5 hours by bus to the west of Cancun. So just kind of gives you an idea about where it is. If you really want to know where it is, the asteroid that killed the dinosaurs happened just north of there in Chicxulub, just off the Gulf, so world famous. But when we talk about actual investment there, the first thing that I'll say is kind of what I said just a bit ago. I am not an attorney, I'm not your financial advisor. I would absolutely recommend that if you're going to make a big decision like moving out of the country in retirement, being a snowbird, investing in property in other places, investing in property in general, contact those people and get a good idea of if that is right for you right now, because the risk may be too great. It just might be the right time, but it might be something that you can move forward and try to do. Now, we decided it was the exact right time. We put a little bit more money than most into the place because we wanted it to be a bigger place. The family and friends and that kind of thing could come down at any time that they wanted. But there are obviously some concerning things that have occurred over the past couple of years, honestly, in the last few months. Now, the market in Yucatan is a pretty strong market. According to Mexico Daily Post, Merida sells about 15,000 houses per year, which seems like a good rate for the population population size. And according to globalpropertyguide.com, since 2014, Merida has seen a 5% to 9% nominal growth since 2014. Now, adjusted for inflation, that's going to reduce that number a bit, but it still shows a pretty strong rate of growth. And according to that same website, middle class growth continues to grow, and they're actually expecting 3.8 million more people to get into the middle class by 2030. And that's middle class households, not just individuals in the middle class. And getting back more to what this channel is more about, of the million Americans that live in Mexico, more than half own their own homes. So 50% or better are going into Mexico and deciding that an investment in a property is the way to go rather than renting. Now, according to the Yucatan Times, some of the things that we're seeing that are a little bit worrisome are headlines like worst inflation in the last 22 years. I know I've seen pretty much the exact same thing for gas prices, but this is taking its toll not just at the tank. This is not just taking place in the real estate market or anything like that. This is taking place with everyday items like limes, avocados, onions, where they're seeing growth in price of up to 167%. And that was limes. Onions are 120+%, and avocados are just below the 100% mark. And that's just in the recent past. This isn't like this has been 167% over 10 years. This is 167% recently within the last few quarters. So what we're seeing is that long term, Merida looks like a fantastic place to be. The numbers are great. You can see that there's a lot of enjoyment. There's a lot of excitement going in to investing in Yucatan. And even when you're just traveling around the city, you can see that there's a lot of construction in homes. You can see a lot of boutique hotels going up. Along the coast, there's all kinds of development. So really, when you think about it, there is a positive movement towards growth in the area. Now, we're going to get into something in just a little bit where I'm going to try to kind of flip that on its head so that you can get both perspectives and see what I'm talking about. But one worrisome article that I saw from the Yucatan Times as well was called "Vacant Houses in Merida, a Symptom of the Housing Bubble." Now, this came off to me a little bit more of an editorialized version of what somebody thinks is going on, a bit of information that they found that you can extrapolate data from. But at the same time, when you look a little bit deeper into the data, even they note that those 62,000 houses that are vacant, over 90% of them are located in the north of Merida, where you do see a lot of expansion, but you might also see a lot of people holding onto those houses to see what they might be able to get in the future when people decide that they want to purchase them. And a lot of this has been blamed on, let's just call it for what it is, a lot of this has been blamed on gringo pricing, gringo right here. But when you actually look at the data, most of what you're seeing is not just individuals from Canada and the US, even the UK, flooding into cities like Merida. What we're also seeing is a lot of emigration from different places like Mexico City and the like. They're moving to Merida for a plethora of reasons, possibly different than people moving from the United States and Canada down there, but that is the vast majority. Even my architect, when we were speaking in the very beginning, one of the first questions I asked was, are you seeing a lot of Americans and Canadians buying these houses and renovating them? And he said about 10 years ago, his business was about 90% Americans, 10% other Mexicans coming in from different areas in Mexico. Now that number has not flipped, but it's come very close, and it's about 70% Mexicans moving into Merida and the coast, and then 30% that are other. But when you see a significant amount of unoccupied homes, and you hear stories like what we heard when we were initially purchasing our home, that people will hold onto those houses, sell them, take that money, live on that for a bit, do the same thing, because a lot of families have kind of passed those houses down. They're left vacant. Nothing happens. Somebody like me comes in, purchases them, renovates them. They get the money for the vacant lot. I put the money in to make the house better, hopefully make the community, the block a little bit better, and then prices go up. Now, there is definitely a, quote unquote gentrification argument to be made that if you do that and you price people out of the neighborhood that have been there for a long time, that's not a very good thing. That is a separate argument from what we're talking about now, but it does have a lot to do with, if you see that coming in, it can do one of two things. It could push the market up at a very slow, steady rate, looking very good, like it's a very good investment over time, or the end result of which was the crash of 2008, and that is that everybody tries to get into it, and then when they don't get into it properly and finances aren't corrected, everything crashes down. So we worry about a real estate bubble when that occurs. Now, I did think that the author of that particular article had a very good point, and that is that housing is being developed based on speculation and not need, and building in absurd areas that are not ready for urbanization. And you'll see a lot of these things happen just to the north of Merida, where the land is very lush, it's very thick, it's not quite swampland, but there's a lot of stuff going on up there, and a lot of people have tried to purchase swaths of land, cut small lots out of them like they're going to make this big development. People come in, purchase that land, and then nothing ends up happening. So that's definitely a buyer beware kind of moment. But as far as it pushing things out of line, I don't know if I believe that that's the case. So all of that information being thrown at you, what do I think is going on? One, I think that you might be seeing a bit of a bubble. I don't think it's anything huge. I think that that when you look at the financing that is required in Mexico, when you look at the fact that a lot of people don't finance, for instance, my wife and I didn't actually finance within Mexico. We redid our investments up here in Kansas City and at the Lake of the Ozarks, took that equity out, and then ended up purchasing in Mexico, so it's completely paid off. That made a heck of a lot more sense to us than paying 3 times the interest rate, and since we don't have an actual credit score down there, maybe not even qualifying for the loan. Now, I know I've heard a lot of different opinions from the commenters on these posts, especially when I get into this about how crazy that is. I understand, and trust me, but we've been investing in real estate long enough to be very, very conservative, even though it seems to some people like we're going out of our way to not be conservative at all. When you tell somebody that you're investing in a property in Mexico, they think that you are a maverick out there trying to make big money. That wasn't it at all. We had a financial plan that would allow for us to basically become debt-free by selling the house that I'm currently sitting in Kansas City, having our lake house, having our house in Mexico, and trading off time between those and retirement. That's our overall goal. And because of that and the amount of time that we have before that actually occurs, we have the ability to pay all of those down. And then once we're selling, it was a piece of cake to put the numbers into our financial plan, see that it was going to work out, and then pull the trigger. But that went with a lot of thought and a lot of research, again, even though it seemed like it was jumping at anything that we could possibly find. And as far as the market goes in Merida, the reason that I think you might be seeing a little bit of a bubble is because of the increase in its notoriety. When you see the Progreso Pier, which is the longest pier in the world, it's only about 30 minutes north of the center point of Merida. When you see that pier getting more and more cruises, now again, COVID kind of shut things down and slowed things down, but as you see it pick back up, you may see more and more people not only coming into Progreso, but coming into Merida, seeing the cost of living, seeing the real estate prices, and deciding that it makes a lot more sense to live in a place like that than it does to, say, live in LA, New York City, or I mean, even Kansas City, where cost of living is considered cheap in the United States, but nowhere near as low as it is there. On top of this, populations that are not looking for Cancun, they're not looking for Puerto Vallarta, they're looking for a more colonial city that still gives them all of the benefits of being in a city while still feeling like a traditional value. You can go to the north part of Merida and see amazing things, and if you want to live in a condo up there, I completely understand. But if you want the old world traditional Mexico and you go to the central district, you're going to see amazing, beautiful architecture, as well as a fantastic cost of living, especially if you decide to invest. And if you decide to go to the northern area of Yucatan, it's pretty much the exact same story with cost of living, but now you're talking about potentially having beachfront condos, beachfront houses, things of this nature, and there are tons of lots that are still available east to west along the northern shore of the Yucatan. However, I do not see enough growth coming into Merida where I think that there is a full-blown recession coming on and a bubble is going to burst and it's going to be terrible. The reason that there are 62,000 abandoned houses doesn't just have to do with the fact that people are holding on to them and that they're going to eventually push all of them on the market and flood the market. Some of that has to do with the area, the size of them, the amount of disrepair, and the amount of buyers that are willing to take those projects on, especially with financing. My opinion is that what is holding Merida away from being a true bubble is the fact that there is a bit of a difficulty in investing there because of the financing, because you have to have enough cash to put down there. And when you do that, you're normally talking about people who have thought their way through this entire process. You're not just talking about somebody who gets a 2% interest rate that could adjust up to 10 in 6 months and now they're SOL and up the same creek. So by the standards of making it difficult to invest, by the timing being pushed out quite a bit, and the idea that Merida is not known as well as some of the other major cities, even including places like San Miguel de Allende, which is what is known as a true kind of expat destination, Merida, even though it has a great expat population, it's still significantly lower than some other areas in Mexico. So do I think that you should watch out? Yes. Do I think that you should be safe? Yes. Do I think that you should keep yourself up to date in a market that you're looking to invest in? 100%. Do I think that this is a true bubble? Not at all. I think it is a place that people are discovering. I think that it's a place that people are falling in love with. And I think that as prices continue to go up, we're going to see a bit of a pushback with regard to what you're allowed to do within the city. And even the size of Centro itself and the colonial buildings that are in there, there's only a finite amount. So it'll keep it down. Unless demand goes way, way up, and then we'll talk then. But as far as what we're seeing now, I still see a lot of places that could be renovated. I still see a ton of places that could be renovated but aren't for sale, and need to be renovated. And places that are already renovated. And I still see a significant amount of gringo pricing, which I don't think anybody on either side of that is okay with. Don't point your fingers at me. I didn't do that, just on the renovation. So anyway, guys, that's the episode. I hope you really enjoyed it. Again, my name is Alexander Howell. If you like this video, please feel free to hit the like button. You're still here, so if you don't mind hitting the like button, that'd be fantastic. Also, if you like this video and you want to actually have happier videos where we talk about Merida and how awesome it is and about the renovation of our house, please feel free to subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell. That'll let you know anytime that one of these videos goes live, or I live stream, which I'm hoping to get back into doing, but I feel like we've been passing sickness around this house for 5 months. But anyway, thank you all so much for being a part of this. Also, feel free to join the Facebook group, facebook.com/groups/travel2 Merida. That's my group. It's got about 170 members on there right now, but everybody's really cool. It's really about just answering questions and stuff like that. And feel free to visit me at Instagram at Alexander from KC. Text me 816-727-7740. And if you have a longer question that doesn't want to go over text, just go to my website, alexanderhowe.com, hit contact us, just sends me an email direct, no junk mail or anything like that. Thank you again so much for doing all of that stuff and watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it, and as always,